Good evening. I would like to call to order the Administration and Public Works Committee meeting for July 14th. Can we please have roll call?
Councilmember Newsma. Councilmember Suffredin. Actually, I'm sorry, I don't mean to ask for clarification, but are you sitting in for?
Newsma.
Yeah, I was going to ask how to do that. Mayor Biss has the authority to appoint members. He appointed me to kind of sit in, but I don't know if we got to vote on that now or.
No, it's just his.
All right.
Okay, let me start again. Councilmember Burns.
I am here.
Councilmember Suffredin.
Recording in progress.
Councilmember Davis.
Here.
Councilmember Kelly.
Here.
Councilmember Harris.
Present.
Councilmember Isles.
Here.
Have a quorum.
Thank you so much. We have a quorum, and I am sitting in for Councilmember Suffredin, who is not available this evening. I'm looking for motion. We don't have anybody participating virtually. So we will begin with public comment, and we have no one.
We need to do the minutes.
Has the minutes down here.
Okay, sorry.
Okay. So we'll start with public comment, and then we'll move to minutes. We had no one sign up in person. Anybody here? No? Okay, we have 2 people signed up online. Tricia Conley.
Hello, good evening.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Okay, hold on just a second. I'm just finding my notes, which are here. All right, I'm here tonight to speak about A3. I'm a bit stunned that somebody is getting a federal grant for $900,000 to guide us on what we need to do with our public land. We love to talk about housing people. Do we have a plan for that? Last I checked, we're big on buying more land without any plans. There seems to be an unwillingness to face these issues directly, instead sidestep them. People are on the street, they're in shelters, and probably the largest number are maybe couch surfing to try and figure out how to scoop up enough money to try and rent again. Do we feel any urgency here? Evanston is approximately 5 miles wide, 7 miles long. In fact, some of you like to remind us of this. Do you really need to hire someone to tell us what to do with our public assets? It's staring us right in the face. Long-term affordable housing. That is our asset. We are in the middle of a comprehensive plan, which, by the way, should be guided by a strategic housing plan, not the other way around. We need to know data, numbers, projections to show what the needs are of our community so we can proceed and figure this out. We do not need a consultant. It is rather interesting to have a company with a CEO who previously served as a mayor, then a senator, who's getting the public dollar to tell cities how they make the most of their money from their public land. Well, he certainly learned how to put his assets to work. Yes, I understand we like the idea of free money, but we all pay in the end. This grant needs to go on the back burner while we figure out if we are really putting assets to work or just leaving people with the same old options to be housed in Evanston. Housing long-term is a public good, and it's about your political will to do something now to commit to long-term options using our public dollars to do so, not hire yet another consultant. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Next, Mary Rosinski.
Hi, thank you very much. I'm calling to comment on, as a resident, that I'm a little bothered by the Twigs proposal that it doesn't have the description. It has the line items finally, but there is a parks process that this goes through. But as a resident, we should be able to see. I would think you would want to see what these line items are if we're spending, close to 500,000 or whatever on parks equipment. And I think it would, in the parks process, the pictures of what's actually being installed would be brought to you also, as well as the public. So I'm just concerned that we have a parks process and that we need to follow it, and everyone needs to get caught up on what that is so that we can do the best job and we can have the best park system that for all the money that we spend on it. So I'm hoping you will revisit. I mean, I just looked at the line item thing today, and I was like, it would be like going into a bookstore and everything on the outside just says books. If you don't know what those things on those line items are, how do you know whether or not you want to pass any of this or not? Now, I understand that there was discussion, and maybe, and I'm not sure, but maybe the people that Bobby met with all saw what's actually going to be installed and all said, oh, that's great. But I do think it's a public park, and I think everyone deserves to at least see what's going on, and this should be for every park in every part of Evanston. So that's what I wanted to say. Thank you very much for your time. And that's it.
Thank you. That concludes public comment. Next, I'm looking for motion on the approval of the minutes from June 23rd.
I'll move approval of the minutes.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, it has been moved and properly seconded. All those in favor for, is there any questions? Any discussion? Okay, sorry. All those in favor for June 23rd, 25 minutes to be approved, say aye. Aye. Leaves no one to say nay. Those pass. Next is A1, approval of the city payroll and bills list. Is there a motion? This is where y'all chime in and say, or do we want to do consent? Okay. Yes, we can do consent. Are there any items we wish to pull off?
I'd like to pull off A3, A4, A5, and A9.
3, 4, 5, and 9.
Yes.
Three, 4, 5, and 9 going twice. Anything else? All right. I need motion.
I'll move approval of the consent agenda minus items A3, 4, 5, and 9.
I'll second.
It has been moved and seconded that we have the consent agenda except items A3, A4, A5, and A9. Can we have roll call, please?
Councilmember Burns.
Aye.
Councilmember Suffredin, I'm sorry. He's not here. Councilmember Davis.
Aye.
Councilmember Kelly.
Aye.
Councilmember Harris.
Aye. Aye.
Councilmember Isles.
Aye.
5-0.
With 5 in favor, the consent agenda passes, and we'll move on to A3.
Okay. I have a quick question.
We
Chair.
need to first move.
Yeah, I'll move approval of A3, approval of contract award to Propviser for putting assets to work. Yeah, I'll stop there.
Okay.
I'll second.
Okay. All right, the floor is open for discussion.
Thank you. But I just had a quick question regarding, and this isn't anything personal, of course, but in terms of standing in, how do our rules state that someone can replace someone? Does anybody, I mean, I know it has to be through a written communication, and we got that written communication? Okay.
I will defer to our attorney, Cynthia Granfield, but I believe the mayor did send a written notification pointing Burns
Okay.
to stand in.
And that's all that's required? Okay, good enough. Okay, thank you. Yeah, so I want a little bit of clarification about what the error was. I tried to go back and look at the February 24th meeting where apparently there was an error that occurred. What was the error?
Good evening, members of the APW committee. I'm Paul Zelmazak. I serve as the Economic Development Manager. The error was our procurement department in their downloading of the RFP responses from the Demand Star system, there was one lingering RFP response that didn't make it into the final batch. That particular group, Urban Resolve, asked after the fact that we consider their proposal, and that's why there was a delay. That's why we asked for the existing contract to be put on hold and for us to reissue or reopen the review process so we could review Urban Resolve's RFP. But it was a technical glitch.
Okay. So we reissued the RFP?
No, I want to be clear because I don't think I was clear on that. We reopened the evaluation of the existing RFPs so we could evaluate Urban Resolves in the context of the other RFPs that were submitted.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, I guess I do feel like this whole process started back in '23, I think, when we originally approved, I think, of an expenditure of about $125,000 through the GFOA and through this Ben, the Congress, what's his name, the mayor from Utah, Ben McAdams.
Sure, I'll stay at the podium. That's
Ben,
correct.
Ben McAdams. And so we allocated about $125,000 then in '23, in April of '23, with a matching. Was it the GFOA that matched that?
Right, I can explain. So in 2023, we applied to be in the Putting Assets to Work incubator, came to the council for a funding request of $125,000, which was matched by another $125,000 from GFOA, the Government Finance Officers Association. So the total cost of the incubator program was $250,000.
And for that, we got, in an upshot, I mean, we spent $250,000 to, like,
Well,
what's
the city of Evanston spent $125,000 of Evanston dollars on participation with three or four other cities, which included consultants that were part of the GFOA team who guided each of the cities through the Putting Assets to Work process. And then some of those consultants and also some of the other cities came to Evanston to tour and also provide input. And then the consultant drafted the Putting Assets to Work action plan that the City Council adopted in April of '24.
So
The
okay.
year-long process that
Right,
culminated.
it started back in '23
Yeah.
with $250,000 about our assets, and now we're talking about allocating, albeit a grant money, but I just don't want to see our city chasing grants now, another $900 and some thousand dollars to also look at a couple of assets. My main concern here is that this all started, we probably thought we were going to be done with our comprehensive plan at that time. The comprehensive plan started back in '21. We're in the midst of developing a comprehensive plan, a strategic housing plan, zoning. I feel like this is just adding, at this point in time, a layer of chaos onto already other initiatives and efforts that we're fully engaged in here, and we want our staff to be fully focused on. I would rather see this come back with a real clear, I would like to hold this, to have it come back with it really clearly explaining, articulating how this interfaces and how it will be scaffolded with our comprehensive plan, with our strategic housing plan. So I'd actually, I'm not going to say no on this, but I would like to hold it to see how that works. I just am afraid that we're just, So anyway, so I'd like to move to hold this for 2 weeks to ask that staff really articulate clearly how this will interface with our comprehensive plan and strategic housing plan.
Can we hold at standing meetings? My understanding is we can only table here.
Oh, right, you can table it here, but you can table it, but you can table it to a date certain.
Okay, thank you, Councilmember Burns. I should know that by now. Okay, then I guess I would like to table it till our next APW for that purpose.
I will second that.
Hold on one second. All right, there's a motion on the table to table A3, approval of contract award, RFP 25-02.
No, Paul, I have another question for you.
Right, but that stopped the question with the table. That's why I was gonna try to stop her, so.
Oh, okay.
If it didn't get a second, I would have been able to answer, call you. So, roll call, please.
We are voting,
Is it not debatable? I can't remember.
I'm sorry, we're voting on a motion to table?
To table, yes.
At this point, yes, until the next APW meeting, so
Is that debatable or no?
I don't believe that that is debatable.
Yeah, I didn't think so, but I can be wrong, I'm human. All right, so let's do roll call, please.
I will say, if you wanted to further debate it, you could, I think you could withdraw the motion to table. We could do some more debate, and then you could renew your motion to table if there's some more discussion as to the general contract item. Because now that this motion is on the floor, that, how the vote on that motion is dependent on the primary motion. So I don't want to overcomplicate things,
Yeah,
but you
no,
could do that.
if Councilmember Kelly would like to withdraw to allow Councilperson Davis and Burns to speak,
Would you
But that's
both
up to you.
appreciate that? Would that, I'm happy to do that if you'd prefer.
Yeah.
Okay, then I'll withdraw and then reintroduce it.
okay, Councilmember Davis.
Sorry, Paul.
That's okay.
So I guess my question is that my understanding is that we have not given direction as a council as to the future of the Civic Center and also what we're going to do based on like the delayed maintenance that we have on the police headquarters and the Civic Center. So I guess I'm wondering if we go ahead with this, I guess, you know, if you can answer in your professional opinion, should we not make that decision first before putting out a grant a grant for,
Sure.
pursuing a grant and pursuing this action for putting assets to work?
Yeah, I definitely understand your question. So the putting assets to work implementation plan and this grant submittal was designed to create a process to do community engagement, some development finance reviews, different concepts would come out of that community engagement. So we would design some financial models off of those concepts that came out of the community engagement. And then at the end of that process, we would come to, and by the way, throughout the process, we would be coming to council for check-ins. But the idea was that through that engagement process, we would then come to council to say, this is what we believe based on community engagement, based on financial modeling, and based on the marketplace, what we think we need to do with the properties. It isn't, we're not coming forward with this grant to say this is what we want to do. We're starting off probably on a 6-month, we had just started it before we put the contract on hold, but we're on approximately 6 to 8 month community engagement process. It's gonna go as long as we need to go before we decide as a community and the city council what direction we're going with the 3 properties that are in the grant.
Okay, and so how did we decide on these 3 properties?
Right, that was, that came out of the previous council, and those were the 3, and I would ask my colleague Laura Biggs to weigh in on this as well, but it was the 3 assets that had kind of the highest cost and most urgency from a staff serving perspective. Police and fire is probably arguably the most relevant, probably the highest priority property that we're looking at of the 3, followed by the Civic Center because now it's vacant and we don't want to hold on to a highly valuable but vacant property. And third, Noise Cultural Arts Center has a significant capital improvement need, somewhere in the range of 20 million, and correct me if that number is wrong. So those are the 3 that had some recent assessments like facility assessments, high cost, and really tight timelines. So those are the 3 that we put into the grant. The grant also required, it was a U.S. Department of Transportation grant. It required that properties be within a half a mile of a transit station. Certainly many of our properties are, but those 3 were also fell into that kind of timeline or description. transit.
And Audrey, would you say was consulted about the Noise Cultural Center being added to this list?
Yes.
Okay.
This for certain was.
I don't know if you guys call her Director Thompson. I'm actually not sure.
That's
if you
okay.
guys
Director
know.
Thompson from
Okay.
Parks Department.
Yeah. Okay. And she seemed generally favorable to that?
This putting assets to work incubator incorporated staff at all director levels throughout the design of the incubator process, the report, and then the city council recommendation.
Okay. And so there's potential for out of this recommendation for the recommendation to be to sell the buildings, these buildings, and then for particular purposes or with particular visions in mind?
Well, we're hoping the community will help us make important decisions about the 3 properties. We don't think selling them is like just straight out selling them is the answer. Putting them on the market and selling them will give us a quick infusion of cash, but that is a very small percentage of our total budget. What we're trying to do is work with the community to determine how they would like to see the properties used and how it aligns with the council goals, whether that's the previous council goals or what we'll learn today as we continue our goal conversation. Ms. Conley mentioned the need to discuss or push forward our affordable housing initiatives. And I think each of these buildings has a potential to serve, let me say that differently, each of the sites, because it could be the buildings, it could be parts of the sites. We don't know what will happen at the end of this process, but we think that it's ideal for these to be serving housing in some way.
Okay. Okay, those are all my questions.
Thanks.
And just to clarify what Mr. Zalzak has said, then the goal is to go out to the community. They have ideas and they present them like, I think it's a great place for a cafe. I think it should be affordable housing. It doesn't necessarily preclude the city using those sites. It's something that could be added in sometimes. For example, if noise, maybe there is a room for a cafe. What the grant is doing is then they're running that engagement, but then they're going out and doing hard research like, is there a need for a cafe in that area? Does that make sense? Or is it competing against too many other cafes? We think you could generate this much income from that kind of thing, and here's what it would cost you. So from that information, we could then present that to city council saying, here's what the community has recommended, here's what comes out of the developer analysis.
Right. The only thing, and again, I'm going to try to keep it brief, but at the end of the day, this isn't really about real estate redevelopment or demolition or anything like that. It's about how do we, I'll use a strong word, extract more revenue from some of our assets. And in that case, the Noise Culture Arts Center, maybe it's you're doubling up on the studios. Maybe it is a souvenir shop. Maybe it's you're selling art in the space. Doesn't necessarily mean that we're knocking down noise. Doesn't mean that we're kicking anybody out of noise. It's just, how do we extract more? Maybe the parking lot becomes something more than just parking. Police and fire, we know that building is in really rough shape and they deserve better. Does it mean it gets rebuilt on that site? Do we knock it down and build housing? There's lots of different options, but we're at the very beginning of it. And we can tie in existing plans, ongoing plans, whether it be, as Councilmember Kelly mentioned, the Envision Evanston plan, the strategic housing plan. We are at the very beginning of a community engagement process. We are not coming to the city council anytime soon with a recommendation for Paul. I'm thinking at the earliest would be 6 months. It's probably in the range of 8.
Thank you. Councilmember Burns.
Yeah, because there's 3 assets on here, including 2100 Ridge, and 2100 Ridge, just so everybody's clear, because a lot of people don't know this, is in the 5th Ward. And so the folks that probably use it more than anybody else, especially Ingram Park, are mostly in the 5th Ward. And so I've had an opportunity on many cases to interact with them, and they're ready to get going with having a conversation about what happens there. So even if it's not a good time to start talking about fire and police, I don't understand why we would delay starting that conversation, because I think the neighborhood is prepared to start talking about the future of 2100 Ridge, and I haven't heard anything today that should prevent us from moving forward in that way. So I guess that's what I'm trying to understand is like why, what is the point of delaying? It feels like this is just this is an extension of an ongoing, in some ways, disagreement among council about how much consultants is appropriate. I'm somebody that believes that staff is not only already at capacity with their day-to-day work, but to layer on top of that special projects is just not something that is tenable. And I think one way to where we can hopefully make some progress on this whole disagreement is to start talking about these projects from like a work hour standpoint. I did that with zero-based budget. I did some research on about how much hours it would take to complete that work over the 4 or 6 months that we would want it done before the budget. And I think if we start talking about like hours, it'll just give us a sense of how much work is involved. And then we can just ask a direct question to Manager Stowe, like, does anybody who among staff, right, has these hours to put in the next 2 months, 3 months, 4 months to get this done? So hopefully we can have a much more like constructive conversation about whether or not it makes sense to go with a consultant or use use in-house staff, use internal staff, or maybe it informs the next budget conversation we have around staffing. So it feels like that's what this is about. This is a continuation of a disagreement about whether or not it's appropriate to use consultants. If it's not that, I'd love for you to just take a moment to explain what value would be added to delaying this further, especially considering that with 2100 Ridge and perhaps even Noise, we're ready to go. Like, we should start having those community engagement, start engaging the community to see what's possible at those two places.
Was that you? Okay, Councilmember Kelly.
Thank you. So it's really, in large part, about the order of events. And we are very much engaged. The community is very engaged in a comprehensive plan. And the comprehensive plan will give us more direction as to what we're looking at with regard to our public assets. And by the way, Noise Cultural Arts Center has been one of the few centers that has run in the black. It's been a very successful art center. $20 million, I don't think, is the accurate number for what it would take for the upgrades that should have been done a long time ago. That's another problem that we need to address at the city, is the regular maintenance and upgrades of our public facilities. So I really think this is about doing things in an organized fashion, not chasing a grant. You know, we're now talking about spending over $1 million to have some folks in Utah help guide us in whether or not to sell some public land, and much of which is facilities, much of which are incredibly cherished by our community. So this, to me, right now, in the middle of a comprehensive plan and a strategic plan, does not make sense. And I would like our staff to continue to remain focused on our comprehensive plan, guiding our community, the conversations that we need to have, and our strategic housing plan. And then we can consider, if we need to, if we feel we have such a need, to bring in some folks from Utah to help us look at 3 particular public facilities, then we can do that. I just think this is if we really think that this can work, Councilmember Burns, you know, if you feel like this is appropriate, then that's all I'm asking. Then if we could at least have it brought back and show us how it interfaces, you know, articulate it, not here, you know, sort of spitballing on this, but bring it back with a scaffolding of how this works with our comprehensive plan and our strategic housing plan. So with that, I still would like to table this until 2 weeks just to get a better understanding.
There's another question. So, Councilmember Davis.
So I just wanted to mention that, like, my concern here actually is that I don't think that we're making a decision while pretending like we're not. So we basically, in my opinion, this is basically us saying that we plan to sell Noyes Cultural Center, the Civic Center, and the police fire headquarters. And I'm also partially concerned, particularly about the police headquarters aspect of it, because if we're trying to decide what more we're going to do with the building, and I could be wrong, perhaps there's like 10% of the space that we're not using, that's what we're trying to do. But it seems to me like we know that the building needs maintenance, and we are basically making the decision not to go the maintenance route and to try to envision what we can do instead with it. And I would rather us have that conversation explicitly and make that decision and then do this route, because what's going to happen is we'll have a well-developed plan for what we can do if we sell it, but we have no well-developed plan if we do not sell it, so if we keep it. So we're not getting quotes or estimates for how much it will cost to repair it and having that comprehensive plan and looking at that, what that timeline looks like. But other problem about it is that if we are to do the police headquarters in particular, as an example, what worries me is that it doesn't seem as if we've made a decision as to where the police headquarters would be instead. And I will say very vocally, I do not like the fact that we rent this building. And I know from looking at the estimates and from some of the reports that were written, for the police headquarters in particular, we are land restricted in Evanston. There are not a lot of locations where we can find that we can do alternative sites. So it worries me that we are blocking ourselves into like being limited to 3 or 4 alternative spaces if we were to sell that space and then having to pay a premium in some other type of way. Or we just end up kicking the can down the road and renting again because we refuse to think long term. So I'm not confident about what route we're going to take with that because again, we do have a civic center that is sitting there, but it's sitting there because we didn't make any long-term decisions in the first place because I think that it was politically unpopular for some people to kind of have that conversation or whatever else happened. We deferred the maintenance and it surprised us, but whatever it is, I can't say it's good planning that we have a building sitting there that we're not using.
That's it. Thank you. Director Biggs.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'll just state really quickly, the police fire headquarters is about half the size of the building that the police would need based on best management practices. So at least in that case, I'm not sure there's really a coexistence that is feasible. And the building itself is pretty far out of compliance. So I think the goal is to get the information with putting assets to work sort of in parallel with what our options are for the police fire headquarters and continue looking at those options so that we can see like, well, if we move it, where do we go? But at least as far as staff is looking, there isn't really a good rental option for police fire headquarters because their needs are really specific. So that would probably have to be a capital, either a purchase of our property or redoing the police fire headquarters on the existing property, but not renting and not renting out part of the space while the police continue to occupy the existing.
That makes sense to me, but it makes me think that the financial trade-offs need to be made not so much on a, do we want a splash pad, do we want another community center, and instead thinking about more realistically about what the economics are going to be and taking a approach from the city council stance before we have that conversation with the community. Because it might be the case that the community will come back and say, we want this, and it's actually not in our budget. What we need to do is Y, Z instead of X. And that's what I worry about.
Paul.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that it's clear to everybody who's watching. This, staff, nor does the consultant, we have not made a predetermination of what's going to happen with the properties. So there is not a predetermined plan that we're going to sell these properties. Step one is to figure out what's a realistic approach to generating revenue from the properties. And if the community comes forward and says we want the police to stay where they are because it's a good location, then what are the options for us to present to council to stay on Elmwood? Does that mean that we shut police down, temporarily relocate them? I don't know what the options are. There's a universe of ideas. We stay there, we expand on one half the site, finish off the other. But just to be clear, there is no this was the whole point of putting assets to work, was that we're going to use real estate experts and planning experts to help guide the community to help decide what they'd like to see and then have interaction with the council on a regular basis so we can build toward coming up with a request for qualifications to find a partner that can deliver what we're looking for, whether that's a redevelopment or it's a retail specialist that knows how to package and display artwork, whatever it is, that's what we're trying to get to. But I don't think staff nor the council at this point is equipped to really understand the complete universe of ideas. And this was the whole point of the incubator, was to kind of learn from each other, bring it forward, work with the community, and then come forward with recommendations.
Thank you, Councilmember Isles.
Yeah.
No, Isles.
Oh, it's not me. I'm sorry. I thought you
Yep.
sorry.
No, it's okay.
So, thank you. You answered a couple of my questions before I got a chance to answer them. I have a couple things to add. So, the principal in this company is in Utah, but when I read my packet, there's a significant local element to it, correct?
Sure. I mean, the Propviser team lead is based in Utah. He came up with this idea and is leading the consulting team, but there's a local professional who does planning and development named Michael McLean. And then there's a team that's based in Long Island, New York, that also is participating. They've done some of this work in New Rochelle. It's planning, urban planning, and public-private partnership expertise.
Okay, thank you. I've got a couple of other questions too. So we've got this grant already. We've already got the federal grant. That's money that we're able to use. What are the chances when we're done this process that additional funds will be needed? Or is this project completely contained, this 900,000, it's over, there's no more money, this ends? Or does it have a chance to continue?
Sure. The way the Propviser scope of services is written is that they'll take us all the way through to the point of issuing the request for qualifications for our partners, whoever that may be, right? Like, as I said, it could be a developer, it could be something else. So they are bound by contract to provide that service. Once we're at the end of that RFQ process, it's up to the city council to determine if we're going to assign staff, me, somebody else, to move the RFQ process forward, or do we do a new contract with Propviser? Do we go out to the marketplace to find other consultants to provide the work? But this particular process, the grant has a hard cutoff day, has a 3-year deadline. It's very specific on the 3 properties that we can consider for the grant, transit-oriented, the 3 projects that we included, and it ends at the RFQ process.
Okay, and you said it's going to take, 6, 8 months. How often, you also mentioned that you were going to come back and update council. So how often are you going to come back and talk to us about where you're at with your public engagement?
As we build the process, we need to understand this particular council's, the word cadence is used a lot at this dais. There will be ward meetings, neighborhood meetings, one-on-one office hour meetings, periodic check-ins with the city council. I would ask you and your colleagues to let us know what the right amount. We could come in on a monthly basis. We'll have that determined. We had just started the process, building our engagement process, including the website app that kind of brings a unique flair to the engagement process before we had to pause the contract. But this is all going to be determined within, hopefully, if approved tonight by council, we'll start the work up again tomorrow morning, and we can put a proposed calendar together and come back, describe it.
Okay, so I expect us as a council to have made a decision on the comprehensive plan by the end of the summer. We're expecting to see the strategic housing plan in September. In theory, we should be able to make a decision on that by December. So there's a lot going on. I'm assuming you can walk and chew gum at the same time. Are you able to mesh these other things into the process?
Sure. So something to consider with the comprehensive plan is that the idea is that it's comprehensive, but it's also higher level. I know there are some references to individual sites, but you're not going to get into the nitty-gritty of how many units do you want in. I mean, the comp plan's not going to say, literally, let's adaptively reuse the Civic Center building, and that's a recommendation. I don't think it is. I think usually comp plans are much broader, or 50,000 feet, 30,000 feet. The community process will drive, is there a desire to do adaptive reuse? How many units are we talking about? What kind of, is it affordable? Is it mixed income? Do we want to build, townhomes on the parking lot? Like, what are the different things that generally speaking, that people would like to see. You blend that with the comp plan, and then as we move forward and try to design some of the financial modeling and some of the concept drawings, that's where you start to really get into the plan. And that's, I'm telling you, that's like 6 to 8 months out. It's going to take a while. I don't want it to take longer. It could take a year. I don't know. It's going to, and each site's going to be different. I think the 2100 Ridge property is going to be a challenging one, and I think there'll be a lot of community engagement around that. Police and fire, I don't know.
So if we approve it tonight, you are ready to go?
We'll start tomorrow morning.
Okay. And if we were to delay this for 2 weeks, what additional information could you bring us?
I would ask council members to tell me what to bring back.
Okay.
Yeah, because I don't know what else I would bring.
I think those are my questions. Thank you.
All right, thank you. So I have a just quick question. We have this company regardless of how long, it's just, until they get us to the RFQ. So that could be 10 months.
So the Department of Transportation requires that we finish this in 36 months.
Okay.
We signed the contract February of 25. So February or January 31, 2028, this project needs to be completed. What I'm saying about 10 months, 8 months, I want to be very clear about that. That's the engagement process. And I have 2100 Ridge on my brain. Noise process might take 30 days. It just really depends on how the process goes and how people feel about it, and if there's consensus created early on. But it could take longer.
Okay, thank you. I just want to get clarity. We'll go back around, and then this will be the last call. Councilmember Burns.
Yeah, first I just want to say is because this comes up a lot. One, the consultants are not going to dictate to council how this happens. And so I will be supporting it moving forward. And as it moves forward, if y'all want to see something in it that's not in it currently, then say that so we can include it and give that direction to them. They are consultants. They're not directing and dictating to the city. It's the other way around. So that, again, feels like a much more productive discussion to have, is what that is not in it currently that you would like to see. Hey, we want to see the conversation around fire and police delayed while this happens. You can start that at this date. You can get going on 2100 Ridge up until this point. When you reach this point, we want a little bit of a delay. They're partners. Like, they're going to work with us. We're going to dictate to them what our needs are. And somehow we've turned a grant into this bad thing, chasing grants. We secured a grant for $900,000 that doesn't have to come from our Evanston taxpayers. That's a good thing, to bring in a partner to help support us in this important work. And somehow that's being twisted like it's a bad thing. I see that as a win for the city. And then the other thing I'm confused by is that the only thing that council, I always try to tell people this, when people say the city of Evanston, we use that term too loosely. There's 900 or so employees, there's 9 council members, city manager. It's what a majority of us decide to do. The only thing we've done as a council is decide that we're not moving back to 2100 Ridge. That's it. There's been no other vote on whether or not this is our permanent location. There's been no vote on what to do with police and fire, whether to sell that property or to stay. We've taken no votes on any of that. So anybody that feels like those things are decided, it's not coming from, we haven't voted on that yet. It's coming from maybe a mistrust and really what's operating behind the scenes or something like that. But as a council, we have not made any decisions about that. And if anything, a lot of what Councilmember Davis said, which is why I really support everything she said, I feel like we've done that. We spent a considerable amount of time with all these different scenarios. What does it cost to stay at police and fire? What does it cost to build there? What does it cost to build across the street? All that work has been done, and my understanding was putting assets to work is a continuation of that exploration. It's not to say we've made a decision in any way, shape, or form. It's just saying we've took that conversation to a certain point, and we like to continue it using money that we receive from the federal government, which sounds all positive to me. So, again, I'll be supporting this. I think what people want us to do, we have done. We're going to continue to do through putting assets to work. And if we need to vote to make sure that, if we need to make some motion to say the process should be open and it shouldn't be predetermined that we're going to sell anything, let's do that. Like, I'd vote on that in a heartbeat, because I think that is the intention of this work. Thank you.
All right, Councilmember Kelly, and then that's it.
Thank you. So we do have a new council here, and much of the debate around our public asset, our facilities, particularly these three, there was a lot of controversy in terms of, there was controversy in terms of cost and what was being estimated, and I think we owe it to our new council. I don't think we should be having the whole discussion tonight about the police and fire department. I think there was a lot of other options out there too, in terms of building on the parking lot behind it. There's just a lot that can still be discussed. So I don't think this is the place for that. But I do think it is important to have that discussion with our new council. And I don't think, and I'm just, anyway, I think that's very important. I think there is a little bit of history for sure. In closed session, I can say this because we were found in violation when we voted to engage with JLL. It was like, oh, it won't cost us anything. And next thing we know, we had a special order of business to move out and rent this building. So I do think we have to be a little careful, and I do think we owe this council the opportunity to have a full-on discussion about these facilities and the costs and what it would take to upgrade, what's absolutely necessary versus what, gutting an entire civic center. I don't think we have not had those, so I think it's unfair to expect this council to just say, sure, go ahead, send these folks out to assess these. But again, I'm going to return to that we have engaged in several very important initiatives and efforts right now, and I would like to see us all focused on that. And I think that we should, while we're doing that, we should consider some special meetings to discuss these facilities. But I'm not favorable to layering this on top of those efforts that are so important, our strategic housing plan and our comprehensive plan, and I wouldn't want to divert staff onto that right now. I think that much of what comes out of that will drive where we go with these facilities. I think the arts is very important for Evanston. I think that's going to be discussed in the comprehensive plan along with much else. So right now, without having a full understanding and knowing that staff has really thought that through, I would like, that's what I say. Maybe I'll be fine with it in 2 weeks. If I can just have you please sit down and articulate why you think this has nothing to do with the comprehensive plan. I don't want to hear it now, but I need to see that, because I think it absolutely is related to the comprehensive plan, and I think we're missing an opportunity if we don't tie it into that. I think we can go forward with this, but let's not miss the opportunity to have it work with our comprehensive plan and our strategic housing plan if we're going to move forward. So with that,
Thank you. Go ahead.
I would like to move to table this for 2 weeks to have a more thorough discussion about these efforts that we're currently engaged in, and have a better understanding of that in 2 weeks. So,
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
It is.
may I just had one question too.
No.
Oh, there's no.
No.
Okay. Sorry.
So we're going to go for a vote for the table.
Councilmember Burns?
No.
Councilmember Davis?
Aye.
Councilmember Kelly?
Aye.
Councilmember Harris?
No.
Councilmember Isles?
No.
So the motion fails.
So the motion to table this A3 fails, and we can move on to the vote at this point. We've exhausted discussion.
Councilmember Burns?
Sorry, I just had one question, if I could, before. I just had a question about the application itself. I know it said that one of the questions on the application asks if the asset is located adjacent or in a historically disadvantaged community. So with regard to, what do you consider adjacent? Like for noise, what historically disadvantaged community? The staff answered yes for each of the facilities. I'm just curious what.
Yeah,
noises.
excuse me. So we generally, 8092 is the census tract. 8092 is what we use as kind of, we refer to that as an economically disadvantaged census tract we have for years, and clearly both 2100 Ridge and Noise are, I don't know if they're within 8092, but they're definitely adjacent.
adjacent, so, right, so it lists each one of those as being adjacent to a historically disadvantaged community, so.
Right, so if there's a census tract, again, I don't know what
So
census.
that, you consider adjacent means just in the census tract by definition? I'm just wondering.
That would be a way to measure it. It's also like 2 blocks, it's across the train tracks, 2 blocks away, that kind of thing.
Okay.
All right, thank you. Can we have roll call?
Councilmember Burns?
Aye.
Councilmember Davis?
No.
Councilmember Kelly?
No.
Councilmember Harris?
Aye.
Councilmember Isles?
Aye.
3-2. Motion carries.
A3 passes on to council. Thank you. Next, I'm looking for motion for A4, approval of a contract with LRS for a residential refuse and yard waste franchise, RFP 2504.
Yep, so move.
Second?
It's been moved and properly seconded. Open for discussion.
So oh, sorry. Apologies.
Thank you. Councilmember Kelly.
Yeah, I just pulled this off. I'll support it, but I know we've had some frequent issues with the restaurants and other commercial businesses getting their garbage pickup missed multiple times. And I guess I want some assurance that the way this contract is going to be written, that we can tighten that either with, financial repercussions that are significant or other. I just want to make sure that's improved this time.
Good evening, APW Committee, Noel Rodriguez, Public Services Bureau Chief. We do have Ordinance 8-27-4 that addresses the commercial franchise that LRS currently holds. Staff intends to amend that ordinance to be able to include the residential in there so that we can also assess penalties and hold them a little bit more accountable in that sense. However, we do have in the contract response times for any miscollections or any issues to be responded within 24 hours, 72 hours to be completely addressed. We do see the contract as a partnership, so we do work with LRS very closely currently in the commercial franchise agreement, and we expect to continue having that relationship. With some of the issues that have come up, they make themselves readily available. They have gone out to some of those businesses, had discussions, and made arrangements to ensure that those services are being met. And that will certainly continue to be the case.
So there were some issues, thank you, where they didn't respond right away. Multiple times that I was involved in the first ward. So I guess what I'm asking you, is there anything different in this contract that can maybe give us some hope that the service will be improved?
So if it is awarded to LRS, they will not be taking over not only the commercial but the residential. They have indicated that they would having more staff dedicated to the city of Evanston, so we do expect the customer service to improve. In terms of in the contract, we didn't write anything else specific to it. We do have an incentive that's written out for miscollections. So there's an incentive to ensure that they're not doing as many miscollections. Again, to hold them accountable in terms of penalties, that's something that we intend to do through the ordinance.
Okay, is that new, that incentive? I mean, is that something
No,
new?
that's something that was prior there that the group currently holds.
Okay. I just hope we see improved. I hope with the added staff that it's improved. It's been a little bit frustrating sometimes with many of the missed collections with restaurants especially, so.
Understood.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other question? Councilmember Davis.
Yeah, so I inquired as to whether or not we could have this done in-house and if we've done a cost analysis, and I was told that we haven't. So one of the questions I wanted to know is it possible to negotiate a 1-year agreement, or does it have to be 5 years? And for A4, right? Yeah, so it could be 1 year, or does it have to be 5?
No, currently it is for 5 years.
But could we request it to be 1 year, and would it be significant, like would the price difference be, do you know the magnitude of what the price difference might be?
So for this type of contract, it'd be very difficult to do a 1 year with the amount of work that has to be put out there in terms of like the carts and the startup for the vendor. It's not typical. It's typically like 5 up to even 10-year initial contracts that are in place for contracts like this.
Okay, and then this is a question for me, for maybe like council, but would it be a separate referral, or is it something that we can do like a direction of staff to request the cost analysis be done for future reference?
I think that should probably be a separate referral because it's, you know, a more involved analysis. So
That's
that would
fine.
be my suggestion.
I understand. Thank you.
Councilmember Kelly.
Thank you. So I'm glad Councilmember Davis brought that up. I very much would like to see us eventually move to bringing our collection in-house. So I am uncomfortable with the 5-year contract. I'd much rather see this be a 1-year contract. I would like to see us analyzing the cost to bring this collection back in-house. So with that, could this be held till in 2 weeks to let us know what kind of penalties or what, not penalties, but what the difference would be in price for a 1-year contract? I think I would feel more comfortable at least knowing if there's an option for 1 year, just to be able to see what that difference is to potentially move for a 1-year contract.
So I'm going to interrupt this chair. Did you not just say that this, on average, is a 5-year contract, that this is not something, it's not like me talking to my teenage son, take the garbage out and the next week we'll negotiate, you take it out. It's a contract that standard is a 5-year through municipalities, or is that just Evanston? What is the standard?
Correct. Typically, they're 5 years. They can range from 5 to 10 years. That's on average.
Okay. So I think the reality is we don't have that option on this type of contract to go to an annual. I think if we subscribe to the 5-year, that gives us time to do analysis, figure out if we have the capacity to take this on. We don't have capacity to do a lot of things in the city, unfortunately, right now. We're short-staffed. So to then try to pick up garbage is going to be incredible. And I'm looking at the people, right? Am I? Yes, okay. So I think that's unfeasible to say that we would do a 1-year contract for our garbage pickup. Are there any other questions? Councilmember Burns, you did. And
I
then-
was just going to say that
then legal. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
we can do legal first then.
Okay, legal. Oh, and Davis, okay.
I just wanted to thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted members of the committee, Cynthia Granfield, Deputy City Attorney. I just wanted to note that we would not be able to change the term from 5 years to 1 year right now because it's a material term of the RFP and it was attached as part of the RFP. So we would have to essentially totally start the process over again and reissue the RFP if we're going to try and even, beyond even the feasibility of it, just legally, I do not believe that we could change from 1 year to 5 year.
Thank you. Councilmember Burns, and then we'll go to the vote.
I just wanted to quickly say, this council approved zero-based budgeting in the Public Works Department, which almost certainly will take up this question as a matter of their work, the consultants. And so I've already asked Manager Stowe if he can schedule some group meetings for council members who would like to meet with those consultants, not to make any suggestions, but just to hear more about what their scope is going to be and how they're going to approach the work. And we'll be able to ask questions, not provide any direction. But I'm almost certainly that's going to be a part of their work. So I just wanted to offer that. Thank you.
Thank you. Council Davis, did you have it? Your light was on, I just turned it off. No. Okay, can we please have roll call?
Councilmember Burns?
Aye.
Councilmember Davis?
Aye.
Councilmember Kelly?
Aye.
Councilmember Harris?
Aye.
Councilmember Isles?
Aye.
Passes 5-0. Thank you all so much. On A5, approval of play equipment purchase with landscape structures for the Twiggs Park Playground improvement. A5, is there a motion?
So moved.
So, second?
I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved and properly second. Is there discussion? Councilmember Kelly.
Thank you. I pulled this off just in response to the public comment, just to have a better understanding. So this is a lump sum contract? So
Yes.
Okay.
This is a lump sum contract for the purchase of the equipment only for the Twiggs Park Playground. It does not include installation or construction because we were concerned about the time frame and the long lead time for park playground equipment right now. We actually pulled the equipment out as a separate contract and bid it. And then once a contract, we have bid the installation and construction of the improvements as a separate contract. We are in the process of evaluating those bids, and we'll bring that recommendation at a later date. If we do determine to move forward with the contractor from that bid process, then they will just take ownership of the equipment that we have purchased. Their bid will not include the price for that equipment.
Oh, okay, thank you. I guess I just see the price tag of $328,000, not to have some line items.
The quote with the line items is attached.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions?
I'm sorry, one moment. And just so I understand, did this go to Parks and Rec? Was this a?
The Parks and Rec Board does not review bids, so.
Okay, they don't review, or the proposal for the equipment?
They don't do that.
They don't do that. Okay, that's all. Thank you very much.
All right, roll call, please.
Councilmember Burns,
Aye.
Councilmember Davis,
Aye.
Councilmember Kelly,
Aye.
Councilmember Harris,
Aye.
Councilmember Isles.
Aye.
That passes 5-0. Thank you all. And last but not least, A9, approval of a one-year renewal of software. Is there a motion?
So move.
Second.
It's been moved and properly seconded. Opening the floor for discussion. Councilmember Kelly.
So I am interested in it was brought to our attention by a resident who wrote to us about the GIS consortium mapping, and I think any chance that we can join the consortium of communities in this area, I think it's always going to be more efficient, more cost-saving. I know at the early end, there will be, a little short-term pain for long-term gain, but I think it would be worth us looking into that. I'm going to support this tonight, but I would like to ask that staff look into the GIS consortium and look at what it would take to join that. And I believe Esri is part of that also. So, I looked at Libertyville is featured on their front page for developing a system for inspections for their parks. That was, gained through this collaborative system. Anyway, it looks like something that would be very valuable to us because we can also network and coordinate with our other communities, best practices, bike paths with surrounding communities. Just seems like, why wouldn't we? I understand that this is very entrenched, like through 311, my town, we use I think it's my city. But I have a feeling that because Esri is involved in both, that it wouldn't be terrible to switch over.
All right.
Good evening to the distinguished members of the APNW Committee. Dimitri Shub, Chief Information Security Officer and Interim CIO. So appreciate the inquiry, and actually there was a similar inquiry on behalf of Councilmember Kelly back in 2022 regarding the GIS Consortium. So in terms of pricing for the software licensing and support, members of the GIS Consortium and the City of Evanston qualify for the same level of pricing based on the Illinois Master Purchasing Agreement. So fortunately on that side of things, there is parity. The GIS Consortium's core mission is to provide GIS services really for smaller communities that don't necessarily have the capacity to have maybe full-time staff that are GIS analysts or programmers. We are fortunate to have a full-time analyst on site that can support maintenance and operation of our platform, along with the health of the data sets and publishing custom applications. The median size of communities that are members of the GIS Consortium is roughly 24,000 individuals. So we're a little bit larger.
All right. Thank you. Roll call.
Councilmember Burns,
Aye.
Councilmember Davis,
Aye.
Councilmember Kelly,
Aye.
Councilmember Harris,
Aye.
Councilmember Isles.
Aye.
This passes 5-0. All other items were on consent. Seeing no other business before us, I call this meeting adjourned, and P&D will start in 5 minutes. Thank you.